Joining us right now, though, is Dr. Karen Phillip, our counselling psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. And if you've got any questions for Karen Phillip, you can get on the phone right now, 131873. Could be something about the topic we're about to discuss. Be a problem to do with giving up something, an expert in giving up smoking, losing weight, how hypnotherapy can help people in that regard. How are you, Karen?
I am wonderful, thanks, Warren.
Nice to have you on the show again, as one of our regulars, of course, this time every Saturday night. This is an interesting topic tonight. I know that you're doing some work with people like beauty therapists and hairdressers about the role that they can play in solving domestic violence. Now, I'll let you explain a little more by what you mean about that.
Yes, it's recently, a bill has been passed recently over in Illinois that all beauty therapists and hairdressers are not allowed to practice or even stay registered until they do at least 1 hour of training, whether it be online or face-to-face, in regards to domestic violence and or domestic abuse, and also support for any clients that come in to their salons or their therapy rooms. So it's training, sort of all of hairdressers and all beauty therapists to run a professional service, to recognise domestic violence, to report domestic violence, and at least assist their clients by asking the right questions and saying the right things rather than, sort of hurting them, if you like, or anything at all like that. They want them to be supported, to be helped. So it's really interesting, and Prue Coward, our New South Wales Minister for the Prevention of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, also indicated and encouraged all beauty therapists and hairdressers to get involved and to get some training. So it's really stepped up quite quickly after the Illinois mandate was brought in.
Well, when you think about it, I suppose if a woman is in an abusive relationship, one of the few people that she would see on a semi-regular basis would be people in those professions, wouldn't it?
That's exactly right. And women do develop quite a close relationship often with their hairdresser or their beauty therapist. I mean, as soon as a touch is involved in anything, we seem to develop a closer relationship with that person. And they often do talk to their beauty therapist or their hairdresser. And I know the girls that I go to, they're often telling me about stories that they hear from their customers and clients. And they often say to me, look, we don't know what to say. I said this. Is that right? Should I have said something else? How can I help, not hinder? So I sort of put together a little while ago just a brief 1 hour training course that I've given out to a number of different salons and therapists just to help them, what they should say, what they shouldn't say, the words they should use, the ones they shouldn't use, how to develop empathy, this sort of thing. And it's becoming more and more recognised by the therapists and the hairdressers that they really do want to address the expectations of their clients, because they are professionals in what they do. They're not just a hairdresser anymore, or just a beauty therapist. They really do want to upgrade, if you like, their profession and be supporting services for these clients that do come in distress.
Well, why is it that with any service that we go back to the same place again and again? It's because a relationship has been developed to some extent, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and we do get to know the person and we feel very comfortable with them. And when you do start to feel comfortable with your hairdresser or your beautician, then you do start to talk to them and you do start to disclose information.
Yes.
And this is where the the salon staff, if you like, really do need to do some additional work, if you like. And unfortunately, there's no continuing professional development required in either hairdressing or beauty salons, which is a little bit regrettable, considering the professional people that they are and the job that they do. So doing any additional work, even that 1 hour of additional work, is so important, I think, for all of their customers.
I mean, as a professional in what you do as a psychotherapist, counselling hypnotherapist, I guess you have to deal with the ethics of of confidentiality versus disclosure. That must be one awkward part of what we're talking about with hairdressers and beauty therapists, about whether it's appropriate, if they're concerned for somebody, for them to take it further.
And that's exactly right. And this is a major dilemma that a lot of the staff in the salons really don't know. They say to me sometimes, look, is it ethical that I do talk to someone? And because they don't really have ethics within their, I mean, they do have ethics, that's wrong, but they don't have an ethical standard that they have to follow. Like if someone came into the salon and said something, there's no ethical boundaries for them not to talk about it with a whole range of different people. I mean, luckily most of our salon staff are very professional and they don't do that, but they really aren't sure what they should do. Hence why it was brought in Illinois and why Prue Goward is sort of really getting on this wagon, if you like, to say, well, you know what, guys, if you do see someone that has got bruises on their face, that you really do feel that they are under distress and they may be leaving your salon and going home, to face a terrible wrath, then perhaps you do need to call the police and just let them know, look, I think this particular person is in distress. Could you pop around there and just check it out? And these are the sorts of things that are starting to, luckily, happen. And not just women, but also the children. When children do sometimes come in for haircuts and things, and they notice various different behaviours that the kids are the kids are displaying, then it is a good idea to ring up and just sort of say, can someone please go check it out?
Well, as you said earlier, that fact that in these professions there's an element of touch involved helps the relationship take a different course. But I suppose also if you're talking about the kids, it could be the adverse reaction to touch that is a telltale sign.
Oh, look, that's right. And I actually was in a salon, it was a while ago now, that the hairdresser picked something up that she dropped. She came up and she lifted her hand, and this particular child cringed. And I noticed it, the hairdresser didn't, and I thought, oh, wow, what's going on here? So after the child and the mother left, I had a word to the hairdresser. I said, look, next time they come in, just keep a bit of an eye on mum and the children, just to make sure that there's nothing, untoward sort of going on. I wasn't in that area very long. I was only visiting my sister for a while, and it was somewhere where she was.
Sure.
But it sort of made me think, oh, wow, I mean, what's going on in that family? What's happening? What support is available to them? And now with this new bill that's been passed in the States, we are really hoping that it does flow on to Australia as well. And as I say, our minister, our state minister, is really getting onto it, and she's already put something out to encourage all the beauty professionals to get involved and get some additional training so they can notice it and they can empathise and support and use the right language to really support and help their customers and their clients, which I think is absolutely wonderful.
Okay, our number's 131873, email via 2gb.com, 4bc.com.au. Now, I touched on this issue of domestic violence. Have you found, since it's got a lot more profile, as it has in recent years, and I think a lot particularly in the last year to 2 years, that you're seeing more people present or at least be open to talking about it?
It's interesting, sort of yes and no. It's a very strange one, domestic violence. Most women do still try and keep it to themselves, and they do that because, one, they're embarrassed, and two, they really believe that if this or if that changes, that their partner will be okay and not do it ever again. Unfortunately, we're still seeing that it only when it becomes more severe and completely intolerable does the woman actually say, I really need help. They still feel so stuck in that violent relationship. And while we, as the community, are talking about it a lot more, it's still very difficult for the woman to step out and say, I need help, and to put their hand up. It is starting to happen, but it's just starting to happen slower than what all of us would like.
Do you think there's still an element that sometimes a woman, while she shouldn't, sometimes does blame herself?
And you are right, she does, only because usually she's been told that so many times by her partner. If you didn't do this, I wouldn't have had to do that. If you didn't say this, I wouldn't have needed to react. And there always is that element of blame put back onto the woman so unfairly, because it doesn't matter what a woman does or doesn't do, says or doesn't say to her partner. The fact is, any time a male partner lifts his hand to push, to insult, to demean, to hit, that is never a reason, a right reason to do that in any way, shape or form.
There we go. Some good advice there indeed. 131873 if you'd like to talk to Dr. Karen Phillip, our counselling psychotherapist and hypnotherapist, 131873. On a side issue, we sort of picked up on this piece that News Limited's running tonight, Karen, about not planning too much on your weekend. For people saying, look, I've got a jam-packed social calendar this weekend, that psychologically it is a good thing sometimes to leave the weekend wide open just as a way to relax. Do you think that is true, that we don't, we schedule ourselves too much, we don't have enough downtime?
Oh, absolutely. We really do. We just need that one day a week, if not a fortnight, just to open our eyes, get out of bed, take a deep breath and go, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to stop.
Yep.
And that's the problem. We just don't stop enough. We have too many things organised for ourselves. I don't know why, because I tend to stop as often as I can.
Yeah.
But we just don't have enough of that downtime. And, you know, we try and get away on a holiday and we take some time out, but then what do? We fill up every minute of our holiday.
Well, it's getting worse too, isn't it? I mean, we've always probably done that a little, but certainly in the electronic age.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
we're just always connected with everybody to see what everyone's doing. You know, if they're doing this, then I've got to do that.
Yep.
Or if they're doing that, then I want to do that and this at the same time. So it's... People have discussed, is it a competition now with people?
Yeah.
Do we need to fill up more and more so we're busier and have more information coming in and more people to see and more things to do? And that may be part of the problem that we're finding, because we are so socially connected, you know, via our social media and electronically. I don't know. I'm not really sure what it is, but it is becoming a concern, and people are presenting with some additional issues because of the fact that they're not allowing themselves to stop.
I think part of it's that fear of missing out, to be honest with you. I think it really is. 131873 now, Lynette's on the line. What did you want to speak to Dr. Karen Phillip about, Lynette?
Hi. Look, I'm been dieting successfully, and I've lost, in the last 12 months, I've lost 40 kilos, but got several more kilos to go. However, my biggest problem is eating in the evening. I don't eat big quantities, but I'm looking for food. And I usually can eat very small portions in the evening, but I'm still hungry till I go to bed.
That's unfortunately not an unusual issue, Lynette, and may I say congratulations on such an amazing amount of weight that you've lost. That is so great to hear. You must be feeling so much better and so much energy. But what I normally suggest to people when they do come to me with issues like this is do something different than what you normally do. So if you would normally go into your television room and sit in a particular spot, sit somewhere else.
Oh, okay, good.
Even small things like that, just to simply change our habitual motions, if you like. And if you would normally go to the fridge to get, whatever it be, an apple, then eat something completely different, like a yogurt. Or if you normally have a yogurt, eat something like a piece of fruit or a different type of fruit. If you would normally go and have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee or a cup of Milo. Just break up the habit that you normally do. And once we start to break up that habitual behaviour, we can normally then take on other behaviours so much faster. So give that a go.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
There we go, Lynette. You often talk about this, I know, Karen, that one of the great things to do, you use your hypnotherapy sessions, including those ones that people can now obtain online. But it's really if you've got a negative behaviour, of replacing that with another behaviour, right?
That's right. What we do is we are very habitual creatures. We all are. We do the same thing over and over. And, and if it works for us, great. But if it's not working for us, we find it very hard to stop that same habitual over and over and then say, why am I continuing to do this? I don't want to do this, but I just fall straight back into it. Yeah. Well, that's when we need to stop and just take a sidestep and do something consciously completely different.
There we go.
That at least breaks our state, if you like.
Okay, if you want more information, Dr. Karen Phillip, that's drkarenphillip.com. We'll chat next week.
Great. Thanks, Warren.
It is 9:20.